The old mansion at the edge of town had always been a mystery to outsiders. The townspeople whispered about the man who lived there, Elias Grayson, a reclusive yet powerful figure whose wealth shielded him from scrutiny. But inside the towering walls of his home, a different reality unfolded, one woven with secrets that could shatter everything. Elias had one daughter, Evelyn, a girl with haunting green eyes and a quiet intensity. To the world, she was the picture of privilege, but those who looked closer could see the weight she carried, as if the walls of that mansion pressed against her lungs, stealing her breath. The first cracks in their perfect world appeared when Evelyn turned 18. She began to ask questions. "Why don't we ever leave the estate?" she demanded one night at dinner. Elias's silver fork clattered against his plate. "Because the world outside isn't safe for people like us," he said, his voice calm but laced with warning. Evelyn knew better than to push too hard. But that night, she searched his office. She found old letters, faded photographs, pictures of a woman who looked just like her, but wasn't. A twin. No. The dates didn't match. The name written in elegant cursive sent ice through her veins. Margaret Grayson. Her mother. But she had died at childbirth, hadn't she? Heart pounding, Evelyn turned to the desk drawer where Elias kept his keys. She had always been told to never enter the east wing of the house. But now, she had to. She crept through the dim corridors, past oil paintings whose eyes seemed to follow her. The east wing door groaned as she pushed it open. The room smelled of dust and something faintly floral, like perfume long faded. And there, in the center of the room, was a locked trunk. Evelyn used Elias's key. The lid creaked as she lifted it, revealing neatly folded garments, her mother's dresses, still preserved. And beneath them, a collection of letters. She picked one at random and unfolded it, her breath hitching at the words. "Margaret, you must understand. What we share is beyond love. It is beyond rules. No one can take you from me, not even time." A wave of nausea hit her. The words weren't written to her mother. They were written by her mother. And the recipient. Elias Grayson. The realization struck her like a physical blow. The truth she had spent her life avoiding, the reason her father never let her leave, the way he looked at her sometimes, as if he were looking at a ghost, not a daughter. The door behind her creaked. She turned. Elias stood there, his face unreadable. "You were never meant to find this," he said. Terror surged through Evelyn, but so did something else, clarity. The truth was out. The illusion was broken. And now, she had to escape. Even if it meant burning the house down with him inside. Elias stepped forward, his shadow stretching across the wooden floor. His expression remained eerily calm, as though he had been expecting this moment. Evelyn clutched the letter in her trembling fingers, her mind racing. "You knew I would find out, didn't you?" she whispered. Elias sighed, his gaze heavy. "One day, yes. But I had hoped you wouldn't." "Why?" her voice cracked. "Because the truth is too monstrous to face." Elias reached into his coat pocket. Evelyn tensed, ready to run, but instead of a weapon, he pulled out a tarnished locket. He placed it on a small table beside them, his fingers lingering on the delicate gold. "Your mother, Margaret, she was different," he said, his voice tinged with something disturbingly close to reverence. "She believed that love was beyond rules, beyond morality. And she convinced me." Evelyn's stomach churned. "No. That's not love." Elias's lips curled into a sorrowful smile. "What would you call it, then?" "A curse," she spat. "A sickness. And you kept me here, locked away like a treasure," he interrupted. "Like something precious, something that the world would never understand." Evelyn took a step back. The room felt smaller, suffocating. The air crackled with unspoken truths and years of manipulation. She had two choices. Run or fight. Her gaze flickered to the fireplace in the corner, embers still glowing faintly from an earlier fire. And suddenly, she knew exactly what she had to do. "You're wrong," she said softly, her voice steady now. "Love doesn't chain people. It doesn't hide in the dark." Elias watched her curiously, his head tilting slightly. "And what do you intend to do about it?" Evelyn clenched the letter in her fist and turned toward the fireplace. Before Elias could react, she tossed it into the flames. The old parchment caught fire instantly, curling and blackening as it disintegrated. "No." Elias lunged forward, but Evelyn was faster. She grabbed the oil lamp from the nearby table and hurled it onto the ground, where it shattered, sending oil spilling across the wooden floor. The flames leapt hungrily from the fireplace to the trail of oil. Elias staggered back, eyes wide. "Evelyn, stop this." She met his gaze, unflinching. "This house is a prison. And I won't be part of it anymore." The fire spread rapidly, licking up the old wallpaper, consuming the drapes. Smoke thickened in the air, but Evelyn didn't waver. She turned and sprinted toward the door, ignoring Elias's shouts behind her. She ran through the mansion, the fire chasing her, devouring the past with every crackling breath. By the time she reached the grand entrance, the ceiling groaned under the weight of the flames. She didn't look back. Bursting into the cold night air, she gasped, her lungs desperate for something pure. The sky was a deep velvet, stars scattered like distant promises. Behind her, the mansion burned, a towering inferno of secrets and sins. Elias's screams never came. Either he had chosen to stay, or the fire had stolen his voice. Evelyn didn't care. She was free. And for the first time in her life, she had a future that belonged to her alone. The mansion burned through the night, reducing decades of secrets to smoldering ruins. By dawn, all that remained was a skeletal frame of blackened wood and crumbling stone. The townspeople gathered at a distance, whispering among themselves. No one had seen Elias Grayson escape. Evelyn stood on the hillside, wrapped in a borrowed coat, watching the smoke rise into the pale morning sky. The heat of the flames still clung to her skin, but inside, she felt cold. For the first time, she was alone. She should have felt relieved. The house, his house, was gone. The weight of its walls, the whispered lies, the darkness that had bound her, it was all dust now. And yet, a part of her still felt his presence. As if Elias Grayson was not truly gone. As if his voice still lingered in the wind, calling her back. Like a treasure. Evelyn shivered and turned away from the ruins. There was nothing left for her there. She had spent her life in a cage disguised as a home, raised in a world built on deception. But now, she had a choice. A future. She would change her name. Disappear. Start over in a place where no one knew the Grayson name or the horrors tied to it. As she walked down the empty road, leaving the past behind, she whispered a vow to herself. "I am not my father's daughter." But somewhere, deep in the hollow corners of her mind, a voice, his voice, smirked in response. "Aren't you?" Evelyn ignored it and kept walking. She never looked back.